everyone. You know what time it is. It's time for New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. Oh, need to talk about these. We need to talk about this Giant team. We need to talk about after the debacle again in Germany, in Munich, coming home once again with our tail between our legs, not knowing what the future holds. If you take a look at the Giant beat writers, if you take a look at Twitter, if you take a look at all the social media, not all of it, but there's a good portion of the social media. It's like, well, you can't be rash. You can't go out there and just make wholesale changes. You can't just do these things. Well, the problem is you can. And the Giants have a history of not being reactionary. And to their own detriment, I think it's time now for the Giants to be reactionary. And before we get into that, I want to talk about our new partner, Yesoul Fitness. You know, I've always been trying to get back into shape. You know, I've been trying to do these things because once you play at a high competitive level and you get older, you break down, things happen. You want to go out and get a bike. You want to go out and do something. You want to go out and maybe get a Peloton. They're like $3 freaking grand or $2,400, $2,500. Yesoul Fitness is the alternative option that I think is just as good, if not better. So you know what? We got a commercial spot for Yesoul, and we're going to roll it.
Looking to get back into shape or just to find that competitive edge? Then welcome to Yesoul. Introducing the Yesoul G1M Plus Bike. Plug in using your own phone and enjoy the online interactive classes. Plus, the surround sound experience will engulf you. Enjoy the smooth ride that is Yesoul. Simple, easy to adjust technology to give you that perfect fit. Adjust the tension to as you see fit. Unlimited streaming right from your own phone. Watch Netflix, YouTube, and more. Why pay that outrageous price from those other guys? It's Peloton without the Peloton price. Same product, less money. Exclusive discount code in description below. Enjoy fun cardio with Yesoul.
Hope you all enjoyed that because I had a lot of fun putting that spot together. You see the offer code below, Black Friday deal, all that fun stuff. Go to the link below in the description. Go get your Yesoul. I'll wait like I always do. The Giants, as we've talked about this before, are not a reactionary team. They do not throw caution to the wind, and they haven't done that for years, basically. I mean, for a long, long time. They look at the situation. They try to figure out what's the best way possible to get through this. But the problem is this. Sometimes when you do that, when you're not reactionary, that you are so slow to pull the trigger on things because you don't want to look like one of those franchises that don't know what they're doing. When you've reached that point, you know what the problem? You know what happens? You know what the problem is? You never get anything done. I always go back to the time that the Mets fired Willie Randolph on an airplane coming back from L.A. I think about all the times George Steinbrenner's fired people. I think of all the times that the Knicks have moved on from people. And you can sit there and tell me, well, Tim, you know, those situations didn't work out for the best. Well, here's the problem. When you have a history of not being reactionary, when you have a history of at times over-evaluating and overindulging, you get to where we are right now. John Mara is not Wellington. Wellington understood, and it took Wellington a little bit of time in the 70s, late 70s, I should say, to finally figure it out and understand after the miracle in the Meadowlands, we need to do something different. We need to do something different. We need to do something different now. We cannot continue to wait because we're not getting any better. We're going more and more into the doldrums. So you go out and you get it. You find a George Young. We take a look at the Joe Judge era, the Pat Shurmur era. The only time that we were actually reactionary was during the doo-doo era. But the problem is with the doo-doo era, he was basically the scapegoat for the team. The whole debacle with Eli Manning and Geno Smith was he was the person that was hung out to dry because of the fact that they needed a scapegoat. And there's no one, like I said, we're not reactionary. We have to go to the offseason. We have to take a look at things. No, you know what you need to do? Maybe, I know I've said this before, maybe it needs to be a little bit more of a Steinbrenner. Maybe you need to look at this team and say, you know what? This is not going well. We need to do something. We need to do something to shake it up. We may not be winning this season, but you know what? Give the fan base something. Give the fan base hope. Give the fan base a little glimmer of insight that you are with us. You take a look at the fact that the Saints lost to the Carolina Panthers 2 weeks prior to us. And what happens? They fired the head coach because he lost 7 in a row. You have Brian Dable, whose offense has not improved, who at times, if you take a look at the way these players play, they're not playing with heart. They're not playing with enthusiasm. They're not playing through the whistle. And we sit there and we're just like, well, you know, it's Daniel Jones holding him back. Well, here's the problem with Daniel Jones holding him back. He, along with Joe Shane, figured, you know what, we can win with Daniel Jones, so we're going to give him $160 million. They are both culprits in this debacle. In my mind, both should go. And maybe you give something to the spectrum of the fan base by saying, hey, listen, you know, we really have to move on from these guys. It's really time. I have not seen, since the 7-2 start, 2-5-1, I have not seen the team get better in 2.5 years. I've seen the opposite. Usually when you're in a rebuild, and you're in the rebuild of a rebuild of a rebuild, you start getting better. But we're not getting any better. I've seen us get progressively worse. I've seen players who initially seemed to be playing hard are now lollygagging. I always still love it. This, but my favorite line. I don't have the clip anymore. In reference to Bull Durham. No, you lollygag the ball around the infield. You lollygag down to first base. You know, what does that make you? And the assistant coach goes, lollygaggers. That's what we have here at times. There's no urgency. And when you don't have any urgency within the front office, and you don't have any urgency within ownership, and you don't have any urgency within your coaching staff, how are the players supposed to assimilate that? They're going to take it into the Borg as a collective and say, you know what, they got no urgency. Why do we? I'm getting a check. That was like on Twitter today. I saw people going, well, you know, we got the 2nd overall pick right now. We got so many holes. Maybe we shouldn't go draft a quarterback. I almost lost my mind. You never take the bat. You're never going to hit the ball if you don't take the bat off the shoulder. And now you have a segment of the fan base going, well, we have so many holes. Now, I will admit, one of these people is from Cop Izzle, but you know, yeah, we're not going to get it. We're not going to get into that. But if you don't take the bat off the shoulder and swing, you're never going to get a hit. Wayne Gretzky. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Joe Shane, like I said, Joe Shane is a tire kicker using a car salesman. He goes in there every week and kicks the tires on quarterbacks, but he never pulls the trigger and buys. Why? Because he's afraid to make a mistake. Joe Shane is chicken shit. He really is. He pulled the trade on Brian Burns when we didn't need a defensive end, gave a 2, a 5, and a 7 when we didn't, and then gave him $120 million when you were never a defensive end away from the playoffs. We've said this a million times before. Hard Knocks, the worst thing the Giants could ever done. Brian Dable, Joe Shane, sitting in the office. Joe Shane goes to Brian. Hey, what if you could have any player, what would you need? Offensive lineman. What about Brian Burns? Same thing with Shane Bowen. The first staff meeting, Shane asked, I can't even think right now. Joe Shane asked Shane Bowen, what do you need to make your defense successful? 2 linebackers. What about Brian Burns? It was a weak move to get a player you didn't really need because you got a carbon copy on the other side and you hope Kayvon Thibodeau in 2 years is going to be the same player as Brian Burns. I'm not saying Brian Burns is a bad player. Brian Burns is an 8-sack guy. You paid $120 million for an 8-sack guy who can't play the run. If I could figure out in training camp the easiest way to attack the Giants was to go off tackle and run at your defensive ends, run at potentially what was supposed to be the strength is your defensive line, and you're going to amass huge amounts of yards. I could figure that out in preseason. What the heck do you think the league did? And the league figured it out quick. Hubbard ran for what, 148? You took a bad loss in Germany. Instead of firing everyone on the plane and being a little bit reactionary and maybe giving the fans something to hang their hat on, you turn around and go, well, you know what? We got to evaluate this at the end of the season. So you're going to evaluate the talent at the end of the season by the person who brought in the talent, and the talent sucks. Oh, I see. You are going to allow the cook who gave everyone food poisoning because he bought his own ingredients, you're going to give him the opportunity to poison people some more. Oh, what was I thinking? As a season ticket holder, I'm a friggin' idiot. What was I thinking? And then you think that Joe Shane, who in 3 years has whiffed on so many players, has whiffed on so many free agents, has let his own talented players walk, you are going to give him carte blanche to go find a quarterback. That Cam Ward guy seems pretty good. Well, maybe we'll go with Dart. I hear there's this guy. I hear there's this guy. Be like, I think he's having a stroke, baby. No, I'm just doing Elvis. I'm going to go. You know what? I hear there's a good guy coming out of Duke. And then you're going to give him to the head coach, who is the quarterback whisperer, who whispered for 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns, and we've only watched Daniel Jones get worse, and you're going to have him coach him up. Said this before. Outside of Brian Dable in the pros, outside of Josh Allen, what has Brian Dable done in the pros? Don't go back to college, because last time I checked, we don't fucking play Vanderbilt. I don't want to hear what went on in college, because we don't play Vanderbilt. We don't. I'm sorry. I checked the schedule. I wish we did, because maybe we would have a 40% chance of winning. Sometimes when you don't react to it, when you're always being reactive, when you're always playing defense, when you're not just reacting to the situation that's put in front of you and saying, hey, listen, this was a bad loss. If we weren't playing the Carolina Panthers, we were playing an actual, quadruple A team, we may have lost this game by 25. But thank goodness it was the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. And they have no wide receivers because they traded everybody. They have two good offensive linemen. Their defense is one of the worst in the league. And you can't even pass on that defense and score? I mean, poor Tyrone Tracy. I felt so bad for the kid, but I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. Bill Parcells and other coaches have come out and said, you don't lose a game on one play. There are 6 or 7 plays throughout the game that you need to make so you don't get to that one play at the end. If you don't make those other plays during the game, you shouldn't win the game. Because if you make them, you don't have to come down to that final play that cost you the game. And the poor kid's only played running back for a year and a half now. Some people are like, well, he's overrated. I don't think he's as good as people are making him out to be, but I also don't think he's overrated. I think he's overrated in the thought process of the Giant fans. But this is the thing. How can you go into year 4 trusting Shane and or Dable to do anything to lead this franchise? I've said this before. Bill Belichick, these reunions never work out. They never do. We've gone through the outside of Andy Reid, who, like I said, but Andy Reid's a little bit different because he was a lot younger than Belichick or Hank Stram, and outside of Dick Vermeil, who was very old. Just joking. I can say that because I am old. But outside of that, these reunions hardly ever work out. You look at Ditka, you look at Hank Stram. I mean, the list just goes on. But if you want to bring Bill Belichick in as the president of football operations, and allow him to hire a general manager, and then allow him and the general manager to hire a head coach, and allow a group continuance, a group collective, a Borg, to draft some players, to rebuild this franchise, to rebuild this roster, you kind of go from there. I don't want to hear about the injuries either. Every team suffers injuries. Every team has injury problems. We are no different than any other team in this league. Good teams overcome injuries. Good teams overcome obstacles. Good teams understand and have an understanding on how to win. This team does not know how to win. The Giants do not know how to win. They haven't known how to win in over 10 years. And then I see idiots on Twitter sitting there and going, well, you can't just get rid of them because they did get that 9-7 in season. So now they've had 2 bad. No, they were 7-2. They should have lost in Jacksonville. They should have lost in Tennessee. There's a couple other games they should have lost. After that 7-2 start, you went 2-5-1, and you haven't won blank since. You've won 8 games since that 2-5-1. You've won 8 games. I mean, I should say 10 games altogether if you accumulate the 2 games and the tie. I just wish the Giants would react. I just wish the Giants would have this thought process, would have this feeling that, what we need to do is we need to just move on. We don't need to wait till the end of the season. We don't need to wait for this garbage and this minutia. We need to just blow it up and start all over again. Name an interim head coach, promote Brandon Brown over into the general manager position, even on the interim basis, because he's really not much you can do, and go from there. Because Joe Shane, like I said, has screwed up the draft.
We've said it before. Sometimes people say I'm a genius, but how the heck can you screw up 5-7?
Well, you did that, Joe. You did a good job. You also screwed up the salary cap for the last 2 years. You also screwed up free agency. You also gave away assets for the likes of Darren Waller. Yeah, you drafted Wan'Dale Robinson as redundant to Kadarius Toney, and then you traded Toney. But Wan'Dale Robinson, going back, like I said before, if you keep repeatedly getting pulled down from behind in Kentucky, how do you think that's going to translate into pros? I said that during the draft. The 4 kid is 4 yards in a cloud of dust. He's Billy 2-yard Taylor. And you don't throw him off the line. And when he is open, you don't throw him the ball just out of general principle. I just want the Giants to react. And some people say, well, that's just doing that. That would just show that you're panicking. Maybe we need a little panic. Maybe we just need to not show up to games. Maybe we need to panic a lot. Because of the fact that if you're not actually panicking, all you're doing is pandering. And you're pandering to the lowest denominator, or the lowest segment of this fan base. The people that still believe in Daniel Jones, the people that still believe in Santa Claus. Well, I believe in Santa Claus. The people that sit there and just don't have an understanding of what football is and how you win and how you build a franchise. Look at the Steelers. Look at the New England Patriots going the years back. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You build through consistency. And once in a while, you need to panic. And once in a while, you need to show the fan base that you have been so bad for so long that you need to throw caution in the wind and do something different, because this calm, cool, collective demeanor that we always have to wait till the offseason to see things just isn't working out. I want to thank our partner again, Yesoul Fitness. Don't forget the link is in the description. Go get that discount. Go out and buy the M1. Great bike. I use it all the time now. Wait till you see me back. Wait till you see me in December for that Baltimore Ravens game. It's gonna be spectacular. And as always, this is Tim. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And you know why? Because I'm out of here.